think ultimately what will be good to talk about is, what do we really all want? So this is going to be a helpful view, I think, to take on. Because, views are always just kind of, the whole point is just if it's helpful or not, right? So it's not something that's absolute to hold on to. But I think a helpful view is ultimately what everybody wants, every human being, is to just be themselves. That's what we all want, deep down. Honestly, I think everything, every life form just wants to express itself, to be itself authentically. So see if you can feel into this and just see, does this apply to you? Do you want to be yourself, ultimately? In other words, do you want to express yourself authentically? Or do you not? Or do you want to be something else, someone else, maybe? Something better, maybe? Which we all have these patterns, right? The conditioning. But what I've noticed, because if you look at human behavior, right? And like, what do people usually focus on? A lot of it's seeking validation, right? Seeking acceptance, approval. But why do we really care so much? Why does that matter so much? I think you could say, like, yeah, it feels good. Yeah, yeah, it could feel good. But really, what I noticed in myself and just kind of exploring this programming and just kind of seeing what it's really about, it's pretty simple, really. At a young age, we basically get taught, we're conditioned, verbally and non-verbally, that acceptance from others, being accepted by others, is really important. That it's actually what life is maybe all about, really. It's just kind of fitting in and getting that attention, right? That validation, the love even, right? Love. But is that in and of itself really all that we want? What I noticed in myself actually was that there's a bunch of beliefs there, but one belief was that actually that I need that attention, that validation, that love, that acceptance, that I really need that, not just for safety. All right, like, yes, safety depends on being loved and accepted, right? Which of course makes sense as a human being, because if you're all alone, it's going to be hard to survive, right? As a human being. So being ostracized by the tribe, by the group, by the family, right? It's not safe. So yeah, safety is in there. But what's also in there, at least for me and for a lot of people I work with, is there's a belief that being accepted by others, being loved and accepted, will then give me the freedom to truly be myself. That basically my sense of freedom, my sense of authenticity, depends on whether or not I'm accepted by other people. And then there's all this programming then for how do I get that acceptance then? And that's the shame, that's the deficiency, that's the, well, I have to be good enough, I have to be smart, I have to be worthy, I have to earn it somehow, right? So there's all this conditioning around how to become a more acceptable or lovable person. But ultimately, it's it's ultimately trying to basically so that I can be myself ultimately. That like, here's all these conditions for how I'm going to be accepted. So that way, then I can be free to be myself. And I think we all have this to some degree. And there's going to be a lot of resistance around this because deep down, we all really hate this. I think we all hate having to conform, having to be artificial and inauthentic, and that could be people pleasing, right? That could be just basically hiding how you feel, filtering yourself, having to be nice, having to be whatever, right? Basically something other than how you naturally are. And deep down, we all really don't like this, especially as children, because it feels so weird, so icky, so like heavy. But the conditioning is so strong that this is what I have to do. And yeah, your safety really can depend on it growing up. That it's not really safe to be yourself fully and authentically, because you'll be rejected, you'll be hurt. That love and acceptance will be taken away. But really, deep down, we all just want to be ourselves. We all just want to be authentically ourselves. It's just that all the conditioning, which is trying to get there, is actually also, it's really in the way. Because the conditioning will never lead to authenticity. Like, for instance, love, acceptance, validation will never actually give you anything. It seems like it will, though. It's like we're all chasing this carrot on a stick. We have this whole like fairy tale. It's like a Snow White fairy tale, right? We're told like you just got to find the right person. You just got to find the right partner, the right friend group, whatever, right? You gotta find that which you're missing, and usually this is through relationships, and then that'll complete you, and then everything will be perfect. Then you can finally be yourself. You'll finally be free. So I don't know if this sounds familiar to you, but this is such a common fairy tale that we're sold, that we're taught. I mean, everyone's always seeking love and validation and affection, you know. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that it's wrong to be in a relationship, to want love and to express love. There's, you know, nothing wrong with it. I think it's just good to be clear on what do I really want out of this? Like, ultimately, what is it that I'm hoping that this will give me? What will this achieve? And just being realistic, right? Because if we're not realistic, if we really bought into the fairy tale, then that really sets us up for disappointment, suffering, dissatisfaction. But we don't know how to get off the ride, because this is literally all that we know, seemingly. So this is how you get off the ride, is you start to just notice the behaviors that you get caught up in, and to start to basically ask these questions, to kind of inquire into what is this really trying to achieve? Not like in a critical, judgmental way, but more like in a curious way, like, oh, wow, there's this person that I met, and my mind keeps fixating, fantasizing about having a life with this person, or this friend group keep fantasizing about how they're all validating me and accepting me. Okay. Well, what will that ultimately give me? So you basically staying curious to the benefit of that, the outcome. And if you kind of just keep going, and what will that give me? So if it's like, oh, I'll be loved. Okay, what will that give me? what will that give? So basically you keep going. And you might be surprised, actually. You might be surprised at what the pattern is really trying to achieve. And it's always beneficial, right? Like freedom, peace, safety. So it's beneficial, but is it realistic? Like, are you really gonna find freedom if you marry the right person or find the right friend group? No, because no one can give you freedom or peace or safety even. Because these are all qualities that, well, safety doesn't really exist, but it's freedom and peace can, but just not through conditions, not through exterior, not through seeking something exterior. Basically, no one's going to complete you. That's just the truth. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be inherently incomplete your whole life. It's more of exploring that sense of incompleteness and how it's constantly trying to resolve itself, and kind of shining that light inward will actually start to resolve the incompleteness. Because it's actually all just made out of repressed emotions. And ultimately, it's a belief, it's a view. So deep down, we all just want to be ourselves. That's it. We want to be natural in the world. We want to move naturally through the world as ourselves. That's pretty much all we want, I think. Peace, freedom, whatever words you want to use, authenticity, right? But it's interesting how that's actually available all the time. What we're seeking is available all the time because it's our natural state. So what's actually in the way is the seeking itself, these patterns of seeking, which is all made up of shadow, whatever you want to call it, programming, conditioning. But it feels so much like you that it's like really hard to see it for what it is. It's so familiar. And it's also so compulsive, so desperate, these patterns. So it's not going to stop overnight. But really just noticing, really starting to notice, question, and really accept. But you can't accept what you're not aware of. So we need to question, we need to look, kind of take that step, that backward step. And then it's really a matter of accepting, like, oh, that's what my mind is trying to, that's why there's all this fixating. It's just trying to find freedom through this person or through this whatever, right? Something outside of you, almost always a person. But that person will never give me that. Can I sit with that? Can I sit with the fact that this person may never actually give me what I want from them? It's hard, right? It's hard, it's uncomfortable. It can be very uncomfortable sometimes. But you do have the capacity to feel it. Whatever it is that's felt can be felt. And let's say it's already felt. Because by the time the mind spins up saying, I don't like this, blah, 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 it's already felt. So really just noticing those thoughts and how they're creating all this whole view about the feelings that don't want to be felt. But the feelings themselves are just sensations that are already felt. They're fine. There's capacity for that. And this is how you drop the struggle. It's not about forcing yourself to stop. It's about seeing what the struggle is about. And then, okay. That's what it is. Now I can just feel it, allow it, In this way, you actually start to be more and more yourself. You start to actually feel more and more yourself. Because what's in the way, it's these beliefs, these patterns that are trying to complete, trying to do something, trying to get away from this. But there's nowhere to go. And nothing has to change. And the more and more free we feel to be ourselves, the more peace we feel, contentment and joy, really. The more connected we feel with everyone and everything around us. And then what used to really bother you before just kind of just falls away gradually. You're not even going to think about it anymore, whatever it was before. Sometimes it's very sudden. So maybe surprised.